Greetings, glass students. This is part 2 of the stacked stencils project, and in this video I'm going to show you how to finish up your stack design. Alright, so after your piece comes out of the full fuse, it should look a little something like so. There will be bubbles because we are stacking. First of all, it's more than 2 layers. We've got a full 3 layers there, and bubbles are bound to happen. And the thickness of your paint can impact this. If you have like a really thick spot of paint somewhere, that can create a little pocket where air might get trapped. So making your paint as level as possible will help mitigate some of that, but you're going to end up with bubbles really no matter what you do. But learn to love the bubbles. They won't hurt you. And so you're going to have some rough edges when it comes out of the kiln because we had that fiber felt there to make the dam, which we needed to keep our height of our piece. If we hadn't put the dam in there, our piece would have flattened out to be 1/4 of an inch thick because that's the size the glass wants to be when we bring it to our full fuse temperature. So when your glass comes out, you'll have some kind of rough and raw edges that you need to grind down and polish up. You can take them to the belt sander, or there's the disc grinder, which will do a good job of just taking off those initial spikies, the little tiny spikes of glass that might have dragged on the fiber felt there. Just be careful, especially when you're using the belt sander. It can take a lot off. I made the mistake of angling my glass slightly when I was trying to do the corners because I decided I wanted to round out the corners a little bit, and it actually ended up taking a little chunk off. So I ended up having to have more round corners than I had originally planned. And once you're satisfied with your shape, you want to make sure that you scrub really well with soap and water using a little toothbrush all those ground edges, because we're going to put them back into the kiln for a tack fuse this time. Remember, tack fuse is really just going to gloss up our piece. It's not going to change its shape at all. It is not going to spread out anywhere. But you really want to make sure those ground edges are nice and clean, because that can prevent them from going glossy when they do go to tack fuse, and then you'll end up with a foggy film that will be difficult to remove. Next, for my little feet that I full fused, I just placed them on a mold that we have that's curved. It's not a specific mold for making feet, but depending on what kind of feet you're trying to make, we have a hand-built clay. Just, it looks like an arch that can be used for various things, and I just placed those on top of the mold with some fiber felt that we had. It was already used once, so I was just recycling and using it again, but the fiber felt is there to prevent the glass from getting stuck on the mold. It's a clay drape mold, which tends to have issues with things getting stuck to them. And then once the pieces are out, you're going to want to make sure that they're level. So I used the disc grinder to grind the bottom parts of the feet, the part that are going to touch the table, just to make them level so they weren't rocking back and forth. And then I used the same disc grinder to kind of etch on the top surface where the glass is going to connect to my stacked design piece. You want to rough up these connections where they're going to meet, because you want the glue that you're using, or the silicone if you're using silicone, to give it something to hang on to, give the glass a little bit of tooth in that area. So same with my stacked piece, I also brought it to the grinder and I just roughed it up in the area that it was going to attach to my little feet. And I recommend using either a 2-part epoxy or clear silicone to bind these. There's also specific glass glues you can get, but they're a little bit more expensive. I used 2-part epoxy on mine. The instructions said it was supposed to be set in 5 minutes, but I was still holding it in place for a little bit longer than that. So make sure you're set up and ready to hold your piece in place while it sets up. This is also another reason why we want to choose a glue or binder that is going to set up fairly quickly. because you don't want to have to leave it overnight and then come back and have it glued in the wrong spot. I did end up using a little bit of tape to hold it in place for longer than probably needed, but once it is stuck together, depending on the adhesive, they're set in a certain amount of minutes usually, but then it takes several hours or days before they're fully cured and considered stuck together. So definitely read your instructions carefully. But once you got them together, you're done. Good job. Thanks for watching. See you in the studio.